Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Thank you so much, Wise County Conservatives, for inviting me here this evening. It's always an honor to be in front of you all, my fellow neighbors, my fellow Texans. Good evening. I'm Evelyn Brooks, and it's my greatest honor to be here to let you understand why I'm running for governor of Texas. As your State Board of Education member, I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of corruption, and unfortunately, I've seen education take a different turn. So I'm stepping up to restore our education system, restore morality, righteousness, and transparency. I hope that you'll give me an opportunity to explain more of the reasons why I believe that I'm your leader for the state of Texas.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chambers?
Test. All right, here we go. So my name is Pete Chambers. Yes, I am a doctor. I know it's doc is a term of endearment, but I picked that term up in 2004 in Iraq as a flight surgeon for the Green Berets. And that's really where I first learned what the term of endearment doc means. And so when they said, "Are you going to use your nickname to run?" I said, "Yes, I am. Because I'll treat you just like I treated those soldiers downrange, with all of my body and all of my heart, with everything I got." Now there's something I learned from Bob Hall. This is a horseshoe nail. And this isn't a gimmick, this is true. I want you to think about this. This is your vote. Whether you vote for me or not, this is your vote, a horseshoe nail. For want of a nail, a hoof was lost. For loss of a hoof, a horse was lost. For loss of a horse, a rider was lost. For loss of a rider, a battle was lost. For loss of a battle, a war was lost. For loss of a war, a nation was lost and freedom was lost. So every vote counts. But just as insignificant as one single horseshoe nail is an outsider coming in against a war chest of millions of dollars, 87 to 100 million, going up against a machine. Because I've spent a lot of time serving this nation, 39 years, the last 8 of it in Texas, on that border, during the COVID mission. I've seen everything. I know the rights and the wrongs. And so for me, my ask of you is that you trust me to have the servant's heart as I run for the senior public servant in the state of Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, I will direct my first question to you, Ms. Brooks. What is the fundamental role of government?
Thank you. The fundamental role of government is definitely to protect our sovereign rights and our freedom and our liberty. It is to uphold the United States and the Texas State Constitution. Limited government is what the people of Texas need most, and historically, that is what we've been known for. Individualism, realizing our American dream, whatever our God-given purpose is, reaching it to the max potential. So fundamentally, we must follow the Constitution, protect it, defend it, and enforce it so that our lives can be left alone, and not only promoting protection, but also protecting our freedom to educate our children, freedom to have the jobs that we want to attain in order to work hard for the American dream. So fundamentally, I would say it is preserving and defending the Constitution, our freedoms with limited government. No.
Thank you very much. Same question here. What is the fundamental role of government?
Absolutely. So I worked for the government for a while. And it started in 1983 under Ronald Reagan, who was a true conservative Republican. And I've gone all the way through. I won't use any NASCAR names, but I'll say I worked for the last president. But underneath him, I worked for the Texas National Guard, which means I worked for Governor Abbott, who was my commander-in-chief, and I respect the man. And I've talked to him face to face on many issues. But government in this constitutional republic is to stand in the gap, to interpose for those that are below them in the sense of the hierarchy of things with regard to government. So if I say the federal government can overreach into the state, who interposes? It's the governor. And it's my job as governor then to, by the doctrine of lesser magistrates, to hand that power, if you will, perceived power, but power to the lower elements, right? The county commissioners, right? To represent you, to interpose for you, to protect you. Not to increase government overreach, but to decrease it. And it is to, as Evelyn said, it is to represent, and it is to be fair, in my view, and equitable. Now, those are things that are certainly inalienable rights that are passed down by our Creator. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness or property is to protect your property and your happiness. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The governor often sets the moral tone of the state. So how does your faith guide your leadership and decision making?
Well, that's back to me.
Oh,
okay. I'll jump in there. Yeah. I'm just being polite, but okay, so when I first kicked this off, I was not planning on doing this at all, honestly. I met with a group in Bonham, Texas, and there was a Christian group, some people from out of state, some good people that I knew, and they said, would you consider running for governor? At the time, we were working to counter human trafficking on the border after I left the Texas National Guard in 2022. And when you want to see heaven, you want to talk about faith, look in the eyes of a child that's been rescued. That's heaven. That's heaven. And so for me, I prayed about it. I said, I'll pray about it, but let me think. Because I said no at first. I thought, I'll take a week. And beware of the prayer that you ask and you say, Lord, your will be done. Beware of that prayer. Because here we are. We're sitting here right now. Now, I'm a former paratrooper. Once you jump out of the plane, you don't go back. There's only one time you go back, and that's when you're a toe jumper and your static line keeps you banging on the side of the plane until they pull you in. I don't want to be that either. So there's a harder way to get back in. But it is the natural progression. And I'm, first of all, sinners. I'm going to say that right now. It's the natural progression of a godly man to see injustice and to seek it out and to stop it. So, by my very motto of my unit, the oppressor libera, to free the oppressed. I believe that faith is the cornerstone.
Thank you. And by the way, I hope we're all praying when we jump out of a plane. I don't know about you, so I'm praying when I'm jumping out of a plane.
Thank you. Yeah, good question. So I believe that morality and good leadership go together. I have a biblical worldview. So as such, I have a higher calling. So this higher calling prevents me from compromising. This higher calling reminds me that I am on a mission. And this mission is a humble servant. This mission is to put the people before profit and power. This mission is to ensure that even the most vulnerable and the weakest are protected and protected under the constitutional law. Again, I keep going there because as a Christian, God gave us the law first in the Old Testament. And then he gave us grace and mercy in the New Testament. Thank you.
I'll switch with you.
Okay. And then he gave us grace and mercy in the New Testament. So that's my time, but thank you. Morality is the essential part of good leadership, and that's what Texas needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, here we go.
This is the one we all want to know, folks. Homeowners in Texas are being forced to leave Texas because we cannot afford those daggone property taxes. Young people are being forced to rent because they can't afford to buy. How do you feel about property taxes, and what's your solution to continue funding the government and increasing home ownership in Texas?
Thank you. The good news about this is that there is a solution. We the people. And it's time for us to take back our God-given right? Freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of property is really what it was intended to say. So to have and own our property, to be owners of property, it is a right in this country, and it's a part of our inheritance. So as such, where do I stand with property taxes? I believe that it's robbing us. It's robbing us of our ability to stay in a home that we work so hard to get and to achieve and take care of it. A lot of times our homes are a reflection of our character. It's a reflection of our personality. So as such, we need to abolish the home property taxes. Why? Property taxes can be replaced with a uniform sales tax. And I think with proper economists coming together to see how we can make it work, we can make it work so that we can save our homes, so we can stay in them. Thank you.
Thank you.
What did she say? Nice try. Absolutely. It seems to be that when you look at, and I'm not a politician, by the way, truly the definition of politician from Aristotle is the polis, the city-state, is to add action to it. We haven't seen a lot of action in the last 11 years. And so what we need is, instead of talking out the side of our mouths and belly aching and carrying on, 40% of Texas doesn't own a home, yet 34% of your taxes, your rent bill is taxes. And you from the top down, this is the finger pointing that I see. It's the lower level people that are doing it. It's down the county level, right? It's the county level. It's their fault, right? We don't tax for that. Well, you set the conditions for, which are the second and third order effects, which then relate to that. So if I declare an emergency, and many counties are still in emergency, all the way back to Harvey, you get a 3.5 increase there. You get a little increase here. When you bring in lots of developers from out of the state, out of the country, you incentivize them with no usury fees, no taxes to take care of the infrastructure. So we need to flip that around. We need to look at the waste, the fraud, waste, and abuse that takes place. I've heard upwards of 60 to 80% of school taxes are based upon the administrative costs. So we need to streamline that as well. You've got 1,207 school districts out there. I think we can narrow that down. I think we can abolish the TEA. I think we can abolish the Texas Medical Board. I think we can get rid of a lot of the administrative costs. I think we have 30 seconds.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, what do you consider being the biggest threat right now in Texas? We're going to let whoever would like to jump on that.
I'll jump on that. All right. If you don't know me, you have to know that I spend a lot of time protecting each and every person in this nation and this state. I've bled on foreign soil for every person, left, right, middle. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter if you have nose rings. I love you just as much. I don't care about any of that. I've protected every one of you. But understand this, there is something nefarious out there. William Beret Travis talked about it on 24 February 1836. He said, fellow citizens and compatriots were besieged on all sides by enemies under, at that time, Santa Anna. Now it's the World Economic Forum. Whether you believe that or not, the globalists are trying to take this state. This is a prize jewel, and we have got to stand in the gap. So if you have a baseline of security, which is what I know how to do, if you have a baseline of security, that's where everything else starts. Now financial security comes next. Water. How many minutes do you have without air? 3 minutes. You got 3 days in freezing cold 3 days without water. Water in Texas is a commodity, and about 2050 to 2070, we're out of it. That's another security level thing. Then taxes and everything else come in. It's on the website. I'm out of time.
Thank you. Okay, I'll stand up for this one. The greatest threat, the biggest threat to Texas is an uneducated Texas. Without an educated Texas, we have no capable and responsible hands to lead this great state into. So right now we're looking at about a nation where there's 60% of the adults who cannot read past a 6th grade reading level. What can you do if you can't reason, if you can't think critically, and you can't problem solve? The American dream is far removed from you if you don't have just a basic foundation in education, and we can do better. When I sit on that board and I look at all the money that we're tossing for education reform, but yet our children still can't read and write and do basic math and science and social studies, we failed them. We're now living in a system where failure pays big money, so our children have become a commodity. So if our children are uneducated, we are no longer the same Texas that you see today, full of innovation, full of a booming economy. We're talking about becoming the #1 economy in the world soon. How can we do that if we don't have an educated Texas? We can't do it. An uneducated Texas is also furthering, it's breaking down the nuclear family as well. And we talk about choices. Well, listen, we had choices before the school vouchers came out. I used almost all of those choices. I homeschooled, I private school, and I had public school. So why does it need to come with strings attached where the government now holds our homeschoolers toward their accountability system, and now our private school choices? Why do we need that entitlement? The entitlements are what's breaking down our families because it never comes free. It comes with a great price. We are to protect this generation. This upcoming generation is facing us. We're looking at tomorrow in their faces today. Are we doing the best we can to prepare them and make sure they're capable of carrying forward our freedom and liberty? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last session, Representative Hopper plus over 20 co-authors filed HB 4914, a bill supported by Texas Public Policy Foundation that would have put Texas on track to follow Florida's footsteps toward a completely independent state, military force trained and equipped to take on missions like securing the border without federal government. As governor, would you have supported this bill and why? And you have all of 90 seconds for this
I
question.
completely support this bill. I helped to develop it on the border. So I gave it to Ammon Blair, the information that we had as we saw chasing a needle and a stack of needles on the border. During the Biden administration, 12,500 people came across on average a week. A week. There were 150 countries demonstrated. The State Guard of Texas cannot be taken out of the state when they decide to fight a war downrange. It's my job to protect the National Guard as well. But we've got to plus up. We've got to do better than Florida. The State Guard goes all the way back to Bowie in the Alamo. Now, my unit on the board is a 3 of the 141. Went back to William Perry Travis. That's why I wrote that letter on 6 walls downrange everywhere I'd stay. Because I always thought I was in the Alamo for the last time. But yes, 4914, it's to plus up the State Guard, give former veterans like me that are out a purpose. Now they can be a kind of a home guard, if you will, on a voluntary status, so we can be called up when Sheriff Coe out of Kenny County calls me and says, hey doc, I got 6 deputies, but I need some help down here. Right? I'm not going to be the guy that's going to slap him on a loss of funding from OLS, Operation Lone Star, because that happened to him when he tried to hire some people. I'll be the guy that sends a bunch of troops down there with law enforcement credentials. Thank you very much. I support that bill.
Thank you. Thank you. I do support sovereignty. If you couldn't tell, I am a defender of liberty. However, most importantly, we need to make sure that we have the right leadership in place. We need to make sure that we do not have a corporate leadership, a corrupt leadership that goes into public-private partnerships that take away our freedom, that remove our hard-earned tax dollars. So in order for this to work, we have to make sure that we have a responsible and accountable elected representatives. We have to have people who answer, representatives who answer to the people and not to money and not to power. So that could work, but only with moral and virtuous leadership, because that's the only way to promote freedom. That's the only way to uphold the guardrails of the Constitution. So yes, we want our sovereignty back, but we want it as a people who self-governs ourselves, a people whose representatives are are protecting our rights and liberties, using and upholding the Constitution. I always go to the Constitution because we have a lot of unauthorized constitutional bills that have been passed that are stripping away our freedom. And I don't know if we really understand the threat that is already here in Austin. And how can we as a people take our power back so that we can get the outcomes that we deserve and that have been preserved by our forefathers? So again, we need a moral and virtuous leadership in order for us to have a sovereign nation where we, or state where we can remain at peace and self-resilient.
Thank you. Okay, this is going to be candidate-specific questions. So I will direct these questions, Ms. Brooks, we're going to start with you, okay? November 2024, you were one of only 3 Republican members of the State Board of Education who voted against adopting the Bluebonnet Learning K-5 reading curriculum, which weaves biblical stories into the lessons. Your vote surprised many of the Christian Republican voters. Can you tell us what caused you to break the majority of your own party and reject it?
Certainly. First, I want to let you know that I took an oath to the Constitution. I did not take an oath to a person. I took an oath to the Constitution, which means every vote, every decision that I make upholds our rights, our freedom, and our liberty. What Bluebonnet is not a Christian education. What Bluebonnet is an educational reform bill that has totally taken and removed our choices of a curriculum, our choices of how to teach our children, our choices of how teachers can even teach. It's scripted for our teachers. Now, when we talk about religious stories, when we talk about Christian stories being taught in our classrooms, this is, first of all, during elementary school reading time. During reading time, the kids always ask questions, which is why we have a lot of fairy tales, we have a lot of fiction stories, and we mix it in with some realistic fiction because that is the mind and development of a child. Parents are supposed to be the spiritual leaders of their children. If I confuse a child and I tell a child we're reading, let's say, a biblical story, there's nothing wrong with the biblical story, but let's say we have a witch teaching our children that biblical story. We don't have the opportunity to hire our own teachers. So the conversation in that classroom are conversations that will affect that child's mind. And it will reflect on what their home religion is versus what the teacher says, because they trust teachers. They're very trusting at that age. We're talking about K through 5th grade. And we're talking about teaching them essentially a belief system. And not only a belief system, but a belief system from a stranger. Kids are curious by nature. So some of the discussions in there will be a biblically based conversation. And if a teacher is not equipped, if a teacher does not believe in your belief system, you have a problem. Last thing, I want to give you an example of this. An example is my kindergartner came home from school and she says, I don't eat meat anymore. I didn't know why my daughter stopped eating meat. I didn't know where it even came from. Come to find out, she sat beside a student, a Hindu student who did not believe in eating beef. That one student changed the trajectory of my child because in her 5-year-old mind, she didn't understand that that was simply a part of her religious belief, but not our religious belief. So I was not voting against the Republican Party. I was voting in favor of the Constitution that says we do have freedom of religion, and the state should not take away our authority to choose a curriculum that aligns with the child's developmental stages. Again, I will say in high school, students can learn the Old Testament and the New Testament. It's more age appropriate developmentally because it won't confuse the young minds of our children.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, second question. No, actually, no. It's not the question. Has nothing to do with you.
I'll try.
This is a candidate-focused question. Wow. Okay, Dr. Chambers. In 2022, Republican Party, their primary for Governor Greg Abbott, faced 3 strong, well-funded challenges. They had Don Huffins, I hope I'm saying this right,
Alan West.
and Jack Craver.
Yes.
Yeah, Abbott still won the primary, taking 2/3 of the vote.
Yes,
What
he did.
evidence do you have that convinces you this time will be any different? That you personally can consolidate that anti-Abbott vote enough to actually beat him?
Test now, test. Okay, so I was there in the middle of that. I briefed all 3 of those gentlemen on the border when I came back up and explained to them what they needed to know regarding the border. That vote, that 3-way vote really hurt that primary. I believe that there were some shenanigans that took place with the voting machines. I still do. I know that no vote is safe when it's running through any machine that can have a man-in-the-middle attack, right? It's just the way it is. And so, but we can't bellyache about things. We have to step in the gap and jump in. So when we decided to run, I say we, the team. I can't talk other than team. I'm a Green Beret. So when I say that when we decided to run, we took that into account. We know that 1.6 million people voted in that election out of 18.9, I believe, that were available. It's pitiful, but I'm just as guilty. I've done that before. I've been downrange in Africa running operations 1,000 miles wide, and they say, why didn't you vote in this election? I'm going to try to mail me an absentee ballot. But anyway, that's a whole other story. When we target this, when we look at who we have to get, we have to go very, very seriously at the specific voters, and that's what we're doing. That are going to get us through. We need 1 million people to win this thing, truly, right? Just 1 million, and we can do it. But we have to target it, and we have to get out and speak. And I'm on the road every day, and I'm doing this every day, and sometimes all night long on podcasts. So it's very targeted, and I believe that we can do it. And I don't have a split vote. We've got 4 more days until the end of the people that will come into the race against me. I think we can win it. I know we can win it. All right, thank you.
As we wrap up, you both get 2 minutes. I know you see those pretty ladies up front, so they'll go ahead and let you know when it's 30 seconds and then stop. But yes, please take those 2 minutes and as your closing statement. We sure appreciate you both coming here tonight and sharing your insights with us.
Okay. Thank you. Again, it's a pleasure to be here, and I thank you for coming out and doing your due diligence to get more acquainted with your candidates. Again, my purpose for being here, a lot of people are like, Governor? Yes, The defining moment that led me to this decision was in HB 1605. That was our previous legislative session. I'm sitting there, it's a 55-page bill, and as I'm sitting there on the board, and the chairman, I was ready to give some amendments to the rulemaking for this very important decision. 1605, by the way, was bluebonnet. It's a host of radical education reform in there. So as I'm sitting there and I'm ready with my amendments, the chairman says, Member Brooks, it is only a suggestion that the State Board of Education participate in this. It is under the authority of the Commissioner of Education. And I looked at him and I said, you know what, that's a very honest statement that you made. It is suggested language in that bill. I rest my time. And as I was sitting there, I realized that my hands were tied behind my back to really be effective in making the outcomes, the changes that we need in order to fix and solve the problems of our education crisis. And so in that moment, I said, well, you know what? I really just need to change leadership here and be that change that the state needs. So from my position of sitting on the State Board of Education, I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot. I understand what the real issues are. And I'm tired of being Delphi techniqued while I'm sitting on that board, trying to make decisions for our children. My heart is right. My heart is right, and I don't want to lose this generation. I don't want to lose a generation to students who think, or young people who think, that socialism and communism is better than freedom and liberty and justice. Not on my watch. I thank you again for your time. God bless you, and I hope to see you all again soon on this journey.
Thank you, Ms. Evelyn.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Evelyn. All right. Test. Here we go. Thank you for saying not on my watch, because now I know what I have to say in the next 2 minutes. Ezekiel chapter 33, there's a chapter about the watchman. Ezekiel chapter 33. The watchman's job is to stand on the wall. I've done it as a soldier for many years, as an 18-year-old all the way up to 2022. It's my job to protect my post and everything within the post until I'm properly relieved. That's what I've got to do for you. You've got to sleep in bed at night knowing that you can sleep in peace. And you men out there, I can sign you up to be in the Texas State Guard, and you can help us to keep the peace. But know this, if the watchman doesn't do his job or her job, it's on their head. It's on my head. It's the only reason I'm in this race. So there's 3 movies, and that's why I put this on. I want you to think about True Grit. It's going to take some grit. It has taken grit just to get this far. We've been called everything but what I am out there by pundits, and I don't care. They're children. We have dealt with a lot of hate mail, a lot of things that, threats, because we're going against the Sharia cities and things. Got it. I'm protecting this nation. The second movie is Braveheart. We've got to unite the clans. We got any Scots-Irish in here? I'm sure we do. I don't care what color your kilt is. We got to unite. Tea Party, GOP, we've got to unite. All right, what you heard earlier. We got to unite. Third movie. Gladiator. I got to take the Republic and I got to give it back. The Republic of Texas, I've got to give it back to the people. Thank you.